All right. Well, welcome back to Chris Frank Games, and I had the moving title screen really small on the screen, so it did not fill up the whole thing. But we're gonna. This is the magic of live video, folks. So it happens. It does happen. All right. So welcome back to Chris Frank Games. My name is Chris. That's the Chris, and we got Frank White, the Frank. Frank, how are you today?
I am doing good. As good as can be. Just
It's
home with a sick baby all day.
oh
So
yeah. Well,
he's not very sick. He just gets kicked out of daycare all the time.
well,
And
maybe.
then there's a fun thing for those of you who don't have kids. There's a fun thing that they do when they're young. I mean, I guess they didn't in the pre-smartphone era, but they do now, where they'll get bored of you, kind of go off and do their own thing, and then turn around and get very indignant that you've turned your phone on and are looking at that instead of them. Like, hey, just because I didn't want to play with you didn't mean I didn't want you to watch me knock over these blocks 55 times in a row.
Pay attention to me, not the phone, not that glass in your hand. What? Yeah. What do you think these kids think about these phones and these iPads now? It's kind of nuts.
I don't know. It's too easy for them. We can, we'll tease this a little later, but I was trying to introduce my child, my older kid, to video games the other day, and yeah, I kind of feel like iPad games have ruined them because they can pick that up very intuitively with pointing at things and touching things, and so they're going to struggle to switch to the slightly more removed, like, no, you move the stick and that controls the character. And like, well, why can't I just drag them around with my finger?
Yeah.
Because I don't want you touching my TV.
Yeah. You're gonna play Call of Duty the old-fashioned way. That is true, though. I mean, I guess they get used to it, and then when they're older, they like playing with the touch controls. I guess, right? That's what's going on
Oh,
these days.
they grew up with it, so they can figure out how Fortnite works on a phone.
Jeez. It's too much. It's too much. Does your kid touches the TV, right? Thinking that any screen is a touch
Yeah.
screen for the most part. Yeah, my nephew does that too. It's very strange. I mean, do you think we were talking to the TV when we were kids? Like, oh, there's people on that TV. We must talk to them or something. They must live there. I mean, I don't remember that, right?
I don't know.
Maybe maybe Sesame
Oh, that
Street.
train's coming right for me. I'd better get out of the way.
Yeah, I don't think they're doing that. Yeah, what? Yeah, show your kid like an old timey movie from like the 1900s
Hmm.
from the aughts and see what they're like. Dad, this is Jurassic.
All right, kids. Today we're learning about Birth of a Nation. Wait, no.
Everyone wore hoods back in the day. Birth of the Nation, where the Ku Klux Klan saves America. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
By the way, there's actually a pretty interesting documentary on PBS right now called well, it's it's not called, but it's about Reconstruction, and it's kind of a period that everyone thinks that the Civil War was won and everyone was happy, but there's a lot of stuff right afterwards that happened, and it's actually pretty. I don't think we talk about it nearly enough, so check it out. There you go. There's a recommendation.
How come
For
I'm the dad and you're the one talking about Civil War documentaries?
dad jokes, right? Dad stuff. But
Yeah.
all right, well, we know why you came here for the video game talk and our hot takes on said video games. So we're gonna be moving on to there. Not a whole lot going on, but some fun, interesting topics.
Yeah.
I think.
There's not a lot of news, but the news that there was beefy.
Yeah, beefy. Where's the beef? It's right here in the news. So we're gonna start off with probably the biggest. I think you'd say this is a megaton announcement.
Yeah. It was not announced like a megaton though. That's the kind of weird thing about it.
Yeah, so I mean, not that anyone was shocked that Sony would be releasing a PS5 in the future, but yeah, so Wired actually got the exclusive, and Mark Cerny, who is Sony's hardware guy, I suppose, kind of did a little presentation for Wired and kind of exposed the new specs for the
Yeah,
PS5.
yeah. So it was very much like, oh, so it's just in an interview with Wired. Is not going to have a big bunch of fanfare. So that definitely means they don't have anything ready for E3. With they're just like, I don't know. He can go tell Wired. We'll just They're gonna keep asking us about it. Just let them have something.
Yeah. Well, Sony's not going to be at E3 this year, so maybe this may have been a reason for that. And then I know the Giant Bomb guys were kind of speculating that maybe Wired had heard all of these rumors during GDC because there was a big ray tracing component to GDC this year. And
Hmm.
maybe Wired actually approached Sony with these questions and comments and speculation. Sony was like, "Well, you know what? We're just going to give you guys an exclusive and spill all the beans." And let's just go through the specs really quick, and then we'll kind of just give our thoughts. So this none of this shit means anything to me, but I'm gonna say what we got. So the CPU, it's gonna be an 8-core AMD Ryzen based on 7 nanometer Zen 2. I'm more of a fan
Oh,
of
the Zen 2.
yeah the Zen 2, Frank. So that's good. I'm glad about that.
One more than the Zen 1.
Whatever the fuck that means. The GPU is gonna be a Radeon Navi based. Again, no idea. Well, Navi? You mean the elf or the what do you call it? The spirit in Link, in Ocarina of Time.
Oh,
Navi?
I was thinking the blue guys from Avatar, and then I was thinking, how do I know what the blue guys from Avatar are still called?
Yeah. Yeah. Every time you boot it up, it's gonna be listen or hey. All right, and then it will have ray tracing, which of course is the brand new tech going around these days that accurately reflects light and whatnot.
Wow.
And
I sure do love tracing all those rays.
yeah, you can do it at home now. And they're also talking about like how this is actually gonna help audio, because it's the same thing you do with
Oh yeah,
light.
that was interesting.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we can talk about that for a second. Like they said, it's really taking audio to the next level, and which is very important, I guess, these days with all these battle royale games where half the gameplay is almost audio, is like listening to where your opponents are, and all that stuff. But well, yeah, what was your take on that audio kind of
Well, it was.
stuff?
I mean, it was interesting the specific focus on audio in general, because isn't it getting like audio is getting an entire processor this time around, like devoted to it, I believe. But also with ray tracing, they were talking about, and I don't know if this is something that's actually can be used live, but they were talking about how ray tracing can actually be used as a tool for simulating audio propagation
Yeah.
by following like the because for those of you who somehow know even less than us, like ray tracing is literally like computing light bouncing back and forth off of objects in the environment and can be used to create more lifelike lighting in games. But yeah, also just simulating it kind of they can use it as a proxy for like a sound wave traveling through the environment. So.
Yeah, bouncing off stuff like tables and buildings and all that stuff. So yeah, that definitely sounds pretty cool. Um, for sure, yeah. So the audio is a big component for this system. Supports 8K resolution. Well, I'm glad it supports that, but I mean, we can't even run 4K games at 60 frames per second. I mean, is anyone clamoring for 8K? I don't think we're going to see any. I mean, we'll see like screensavers with 8K,
Yeah.
right?
Isn't that? I mean, and who's got that kind of money for an 8K TV these days?
Yeah.
What do
Well,
those even cost?
who
A
knows?
lot, I'm assuming.
And yeah, and is it going to be like a upscale, downscale, whatever the PS Pro does, PS4 Pro does? So who knows about that?
Checkerboards the size of your head.
Yeah, it's a lot of checkers. Backwards compatible for at least PS4 games. We don't know about PS3 games.
Well, it's not going to go any farther back than that because the PS3 being such a weird processor compared to other systems was always the big problem there between going from 3 to 4. So yeah, so basically, it's going to be similar architecture, so that it'll be natively kind of backwards compatible, which is good. That's exactly what I was thinking they needed to do. Of like, all right, if you want to do a PS5, it's got to be like a basically also functions as a PS4.
Yeah, well,
Like,
why? I mean, look how much money have we spent on our PS4 games? I mean, why you just gonna throw? I mean, not that anyone's gonna play with them next year when this thing comes out, but like it'd be nice to know I can always download them, except for PT.
and they can probably do, like PS4 Pro, like further enhancements to PS4 games on a PS5 or whatever it's going to be called. And then also this is just speculation on my part, but I'm pretty sure that so there's been talk of like Death Stranding being like a launch title or something, because it's also not coming till 2020 at the earliest.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think that they are going to do the smart thing, and so the transitional games, like, because they're anticipating like a slower transition from PS4 to PS5 than most consoles, which is another reason why you should have this backwards compatibility. So I think for a long time there are going to be games that are basically both, that you'll just buy one SKU. They're not going to bother like having this is the PS4 version of Death Stranding and this is the PS5 version of Death
Yeah, like
Stranding.
GTA.
It's going to be it's going to be one box, at least for first party stuff. I don't know if this is going to be like a requirement for everyone, but where you'll just buy the one version and it'll be a PS4 game on PS4 and a PS5 game on PS5.
Yeah. Or are they going to charge you $10 for the upgrade, like Assassin's Creed
Yeah,
did?
that also, man. Yeah.
That's possible. I mean,
You
really,
just talked me out of my own idea there.
but
Like,
what's
yeah,
the
they'll go for the thing where they get to charge $10 more dollars.
yeah, but what's the difference though? I mean, it's just higher res textures, right? I mean, it's most games engines are built on, low, medium, and ultra, right? So I'm assuming this is gonna be an ultra computer by then. So yeah, yeah. I mean, if they can make more money, they'll do it for sure. But
Yeah.
I don't think they actually need to do that. Okay, and then it's gonna support physical media, so your CD, Blu-ray, Blu-ray drive is not going away. So there you go. And then
I look forward to putting in my limited run games Blu-rays of like, all right, here's a 200 megabyte PlayStation 4 indie game.
yeah,
I put it into my PlayStation 5 to turbocharge it.
how about Night Trap in
Yeah.
8K? How about that? Huh? Is film like 8K? What is film? Like, what do we know a K for film?
Film is actually like it's not a perfect analogy, but like 16 millimeter would be like 2K.
Oh, really?
35 millimeter would be 4K, though it's not as important as people think. Like, actually, there's a good chance if you go to the movie theater tomorrow and watch a movie, there's a pretty decent chance that you're actually just going to be watching a 2K uh,
But
screen, which is essentially like, and for 16:9 is essentially just HD 1080 or 1920 by 1080, but with a much higher bit rate. That's the thing you get at the movie theater. You get the 250 megabyte bit rate versus the 25.
yeah, and by the way, I don't know anything about movies anymore these days. But are movies at theaters, are they all video now, or do people still ship films? Only like special
For the
cases?
most part, yeah, it's all 2K and 4K
Ugh,
projectors.
jeez. Remember whatever happened to emulsion, Frank? We're probably the last generation to like work with film back in there. But your film was in it was what do you call it? Red cam, right? It was digital. I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, everything's digital these days.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Yeah.
red, but it was Canon, but the same basic deal.
Yep. All right, cool. And then here's the big thing as well. It's going to have a solid state hard drive as well as to a
Oh yeah, and like a fancy one.
yeah. So and it's going to have an updated bus so they can move the data right along. And for an example, they showed Spider-Man loading, and it was 15-second load time on the PS4 Pro, I'm guessing, and then it was zero point 0.8 seconds on this new PlayStation. So the hard drive is probably going to be one of the biggest things I think
Yeah,
of this.
because
So
it's you get if you put a solid state drive in your PS4 or PS. I actually have one in my PS3 for some reason.
mhm.
Uh, I can't take it out because one of the USB hubs is broken. But anyway, it just straight up loads stuff faster. Like, they don't have to. I mean, not every game, but like a lot of games, it doesn't require any extra input from the developers. It's faster, so it loads faster. Um, I remember playing. Oh yeah, I must have got it because of Dust back in the day, because you had an advantage. The people with solid state drives would load into the game ever so slightly faster, and so you could actually like run and make it to the objective before the other team had spawned in, because the developers forgot to have like a countdown or something.
Mhm.
So Um,
Damn.
yeah, but also solid state drives are relatively expensive, and if this is some kind of fancy super one anyway, this leads me to believe that at least at launch, and I guess this is always the case with Sony, it's going to be really expensive. This is going to be like a $600 and up device at launch. Can
Well,
almost guarantee
we'll
it.
we'll talk. We'll predict price here in a second, but also like, how big is this going? Is it going to be a terabyte? I mean, it has to be a terabyte, right? I mean, even my PS4 Pro, that's getting a little bit full. I gotta empty out the fridge every now and then. So,
Yeah. But I
so
mean, just last time I checked, like if you were to buy a drive for, because when I replaced the hard drive in my iMac, I thought about getting a solid state drive, but they're like 4 times as expensive per gigabyte, or at least they were.
yeah. Well, I'm not
So
big on the hardware prices right now, but apparently, I've heard that prices are dropping pretty quick for SSD drives. So, but who knows what's gonna happen? It's obviously not
well, I mean
come out
that's
this year.
everything with technology. It's
Yeah.
not as impressive as it was for us in the '90s, where it was like, don't buy that. Whatever it is, it's going to be garbage in 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
But yeah.
but
All right. So you
yeah,
mentioned
different.
price. You mentioned price, and I think you're right.
Yeah.
So the solid state drive, all these new audio chips and all this stuff. I mean, I'm kind of worried that Sony is going to make a mistake like they made with the PS3 and just price this $600. I mean, I'll be honest. The reason why I bought the PS4 is because it was $100 less than the Xbox One. And I think if they move off that $399 price point, I think that's not. I don't know. I think it's the wrong move. So maybe they're trying to keep the PS4 around a little bit longer and trying to
Well, I mean, yeah,
support both. But
we basically have determined that this is planned to be a longer transition. So yeah, it's going to be real expensive at launch, and then they're just going to keep like me when I got roped into getting a PS4 Pro. Like it just sounded like a better and better idea as time went on.
yeah, and you're like, yeah, they're pretty cheap now.
And
They're
you can
gonna go on
sell the
sale.
old one because it just replaces it. Um,
Did you sell your PS4 yet? By the way, have you done that yet?
yeah, the old one.
What did you get for it?
Um,
You
wasn't
remember?
too bad. It was like $125 without the controller or in HDMI, just the console. So
Okay. Sweet. Yeah, so that definitely cushions it. But yeah, geez, I don't know. I think if they try to sell this thing, and then what if Microsoft has a boosted Xbox One X, for I don't know what, $300? I mean, maybe that's the more attractive thing. But I mean, again, you get all your games on the PlayStation system now, so maybe that I don't know. If it's 600, I'm definitely not a first time buyer. I'm gonna wait until it's probably around
I
400 or so.
I try not to anyway. I'm generally a ways behind the console transitions. It's gotten the lead time has gotten shorter with each console generation in my adult life, which is only been two because they take longer these days.
Yeah, I think I got the PS4 launch in November, and I think I got mine in February or something like that the next year. So I waited a couple months. So, all right. And then the other question is, why do this now? Why announce it now? I don't know. Are they expecting Microsoft to have a big E3? But I mean, is Microsoft going to announce new hardware? I mean, I don't think so, right? At this E3, who knows?
Well, the form like have they formally announced the diskless thing, or did that leak?
Oh no, that's announced today, which we
Oh,
will talk about in a second here. But yeah, I mean, this is obviously. I don't think anyone
I,
buying Xbox discless is not going to buy it now because of. First of all, is anyone going to buy the Xbox discless? Second of all, but I don't think this is in that. I don't know. This may be for a. Yeah, who knows?
I don't. What I'm assuming is my conspiracy theory is that like somebody uh like there was some business espionage, some corporate espionage, and they were like, I like Microsoft and Nintendo, and like they're like everyone already knows all this because the plans leaked. The knock, Tom Cruise got the knock list, but so yeah, they're just tweeting it out basically.
Yep.
Somebody was about to leak the info, so they were just like, "Hey, Cerny, go talk to Wired."
Mhm. All right, and
Get
then
out ahead of
do you
this.
want to make a prediction on price since we're here? You said 600. Do you think it's gonna be?
Yeah, I'll stand by that.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think it's gonna be a huge mistake. I think it's gonna be a big mistake, and I think Sony. It's funny, these game companies get so, they win the generation, and then they get so overconfident, and they think, hey, we're gonna just you roll on through the next year, next
Hey,
generation.
it's healthy competition.
I guess.
If everyone stays on board, and well, and it's more and more dangerous now, with like, we've bought into these ecosystems for so long now that it would be a pain in the butt to switch, brands at this point,
Yeah, but
unless
that's
you were just
kind
unless
of
you were one of those guys who just sticks with everything all the time.
yeah, that's kind of what I thought though last gen with the 360 because I love my 360, but as soon as that thing was like 100 bucks less, I jumped ship pretty quick. So but honestly, like, do you play your games from last gen? I don't think a lot of people. I don't do it. So okay, all right.
Sometimes.
So we'll see. All right, very exciting stuff. All right, so let's move on over to the Xbox. What is this thing called? The SAD? No, the Xbox S All Digital. And you think they would have changed that by now after the first kind of headlines went out a couple months ago or a month or two ago, but they're sticking with it.
Xbox sad.
Yeah, no shit. So it's gonna be no disc. When we were talking about this, I was saying we may see this at 99 bucks because it may just be a CPU and a GPU. But no, Frank, it is $250.
And how much is just a regular Xbox One right now?
Well, that's the thing. I looked it up, and you can buy a regular Xbox S with a packing game for like around 220, something like that, 250. So that's just the MSRP 250. But they also said I didn't watch this announcement, but they also said it's always going to be cheaper than the regular S. So maybe retailers will start selling this for 200 or something. But just even 200, I think that's not. I don't think it's the right price for this thing, right? I mean, also, who is this going for? You know, who's the
I,
market for this?
some kid who's like, if I get this, I can get $50 more of Fortnite bucks,
Yeah,
whatever
V-Bucks.
the hell the currency is
Yeah, there you
called.
go. Sell V-Bucks with it. I mean, is this for the grandma or the dad that doesn't know anything about video games? It's just like, I need an Xbox. Give me the cheapest one you got. I gotta
Uh,
get this kid a present. I divorced his wife, his mom, 2 years ago. I gotta make it up. Can I give him an Xbox sad? So
I don't know, or that those bean counters decided that there's a market segment for this, so they're going
I
for it.
suppose. And then they're also going to be packing in, not included, but maybe they'll have a deal with this later on. But Xbox Live and Xbox Game Pass each are $10, but you're going to be able to get both for $14.99 a month. So I can see someone just doing that and not buying any games. I think that's I mean, but 15 bucks a month though. What is that? Let me just see. That is that $60 a year? Let me just do the math. I'm really bad at math like this. Oh, 180. Gosh, I mean that's
You're way off.
three games. So, I don't know. People,
Everyone just wants that sweet subscription money.
I guess, right?
I've actually been thinking about. I think I'm pondering getting rid of Netflix at this point.
I got rid of Netflix after 1 month. I'm like, let me just watch all the Ken Burns movies really quick, and then I'm done.
Well,
But
I've been a long term Netflix subscriber, and yeah, I'm like I don't watch that much Netflix specific stuff anymore, and it's all the original programming these days. So
yeah, I don't like it.
like,
Netflix really Orange is the New Black. I don't think that's a great show. That's not that good. I think
well, that's that hasn't had a new season in like a year.
I know that's old news. And then
But yeah, it's just all these subscription services. Old man, yell at crowd.
Disney. I'll tell you what though, Disney Plus actually looks pretty good. There's a ton of shit, especially now they got The Simpsons and Fox and all this stuff and Star Wars. That's a pretty compelling package. So
Well, let's just say in Cloud Atlas, in the apocalyptic future where the word Disney has replaced the word movie, there wasn't very far off.
yep. All right, so Xbox One's that. I'm assuming you're not a buyer, right? This is not going to get you to buy an Xbox.
Nah.
Oh, all right. All right, Frank, and mini consoles
Mhm.
are all the rage these days. And if you got games from the 90s, why not release a mini console? Go ahead, give it a shot. And Capcom is the next in the fray.
Oh yeah.
And but I actually think this is pretty interesting. So they're going to release a mini console. I think with 16 games. I'm going to pull up the list here in a second. But the console
It's
is
yeah.
basically in the shape of a Capcom logo.
Well, it's an arcade stick.
Yeah, with
It's
a
a two-player arcade. Yeah, it's. I think it's actually. I mean, other than the Capcom logo is a little tacky. This big plastic Capcom logo on your coffee table. But the idea of like a dual fight stick arcade controller with a bunch of packed in, and these are like this. Yeah, this is the games for retro stuff. They got Alien versus Predator on there. I didn't think that was ever going to be like legally playable
mm,
anywhere. That's very exciting. This is a good the CPS 2 or whatever era. Was just a really good era of arcade games.
all right. So
And they
let's
got a good mix in here. Some of these you probably haven't heard of because they're weird, but
yeah. Let
having a MAME cabinet, I've played I think all of these, and they're all sweet.
Yeah, so let's go through these really quick. 1944, The Loop Master. Is that 1942 sequel? Did you do
Yeah,
loops?
yeah, they made a bunch of those. There's
Okay.
like after a while they're just like whatever. It's 19XDX.
Just give us all the
Um,
1944 games,
I love
1941
those
games.
games. It's like it's weird. It's like what if World War II was being fought by different races of just sentient war
Yeah.
vehicles? It's like the airplane people versus the tank people.
Reminds me of playing video games at the Y after swim practice, basically. And then yeah, the aforementioned Alien versus Predator. This is like basically a final fight with
Yeah,
Predator and
it's
aliens.
probably the best like arcade style beat 'em up. Period.
Yeah, I don't think I
Uh,
played this too much as a kid because I think it was like 50 cents or like $1. I think it was pretty
no,
expensive
well,
back in the
it's
day.
that always varied from arcade. Like a lot of these games, you could do either as an owner.
Yep.
So
All right, Armored Warriors. Do not know what that is. Is that like a
that's another really good beat 'em up.
okay?
There's a lot of these. It's mostly beat 'em ups and fighting games, but like these a lot of these are like the gold standard of like having a lot of customizability and extra weapons and things like that.
All right, Capcom Sports Club. Again, no idea what that is. You familiar with that?
That's one I am not familiar because it has the word sports in it.
Is it is it like Wii Sports but for Capcom characters? Probably not right.
Uh,
Captain Commando. Now this is kind of like Bionic Commando, isn't this? It's like a side-scrolling something.
no, it's another beat 'em up.
Okay, all right. Cyberbots Full Metal Madness. I'm guessing this is not Transformers Cyberbots, right?
Yeah.
Nope.
I always get confused on which one is which, but there are two of these games, and I think they're both on here. Um, and where it's the same, they're like mech robots, and it's the same sprites. It's really confusing. But one of them is a one-on-one fighter, and one of them is a beat 'em up.
Maybe it's Eco Fighters you're thinking of. Maybe that's the same thing, but I don't know what
I
Eco
think it's
Fighters either.
metal something.
Darkstalkers, The Night Warriors. Now this is basically a Street Fighter 2 game with like vampires, right? And this is
Yeah,
original.
yeah, it's all kind of Halloween
And
characters,
this
but
is
it's
this is their IP, right? This is not
yeah,
licensed from something. Yeah, okay. That,
yeah.
that I do know that's a beloved fighting game. So a
Hmm.
lot of people love that game.
Like even if you've never played it, you've probably experienced some of the characters through like Marvel versus Capcom games or
Yep. All right, and then Final Fight. Why not Final Fight 2 or something, or Final Fight 3? I don't know why we get the originals here. All right, Ghouls and Ghosts. Another fucking Ghouls and Ghosts. Now, which one? I mean, too bad this is not the Sega Genesis version, but I don't know. Is the again? This is a game I play.
presumably it's the arcade version.
Yeah, I would guess right. Again, this is a game I play at the Y after swim class.
Yeah. No, I'm not a fan of that one. I like it's just too damn I don't think I ever played it at the arcade, but like based on how well I did on the Nintendo, that would have been like 25 cents. I need another 25 cents. I need another 25 cents.
Yeah, especially when minimum wage was like 150 an hour or
Yeah.
something like that back then. All right, Giga Wing. I have no idea what that is. I'm guessing that's like a 1944 game again. 1942,
I
whatever.
think so. I'm not real familiar with that one either.
Mega Man: The Power Battle. Was this a Mega Man Street Fighter game? I don't know what this
Yeah,
is.
yeah. Mega Man fighting game.
All right. Pro Gear. Again, no idea what this is.
I think that's racing.
Okay. I thought you were gonna say I think that's racist. I'm like, oh, okay. All right.
No, that's Top Gear.
Oh, okay.
Hi-oh, that's an odd joke. That's not
Is Top
super
Gear
fresh.
racist? Is there like English in that
Well,
game?
the guy got in trouble for saying the N-word.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Top Gear. Okay, I got you. Saying. All right. Street Fighter 2. Now I think this is kind of a must, but I mean, if this is a fighting stick thing, but it's Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting though, right? Yeah, I believe it's Hyper Fighting. So the list I'm looking at doesn't have the complete title. So it's like the advanced, faster Street Fighter 2, I think, which is a must. Strider. Now this is different than the Genesis game, right? The arcade game is a little bit different than the Genesis
Yeah, I
game.
mean it's more advanced, but yeah, so this is the side scroller. That's a pretty good one. It's very paced.
Yep. All right, and then Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, a beloved arcade hit, I guess, right? I mean, people were lining up.
That is a really good game. Like it's on anything. You could, and you don't really need an arcade stick to play it, you know. But Puzzle Fighter is yes, very beloved.
All right, so it's gonna have wireless Wi-Fi, so it can update leaderboards. I think that's really cool. I think that means you're also gonna be able to download other games because I can't imagine they're gonna have this without like some other Street Fighters.
Well,
involved.
I would hope so. What with how much they want you to pay.
And that's the other thing. We don't have an American price yet, but it's only available in Europe right now, and it's 230 euros, which translates to roughly $260. Good lord, this is not the.
And I
NES
know
Classic.
arcade sticks aren't the cheapest things in the world, but still, like my whole MAME cabinet cost like $600 to put together. So
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good point. Is that it seems like it's gonna be high quality sticks and high quality buttons, and I think this is actually pretty smart because I think there's a market. You know, if there's a market for people going to Street Fighter tournaments with their own arcade sticks, I think people are gonna buy this. But I mean, you know, is there a Street Fighter 2 hyper fighting circuit or something like that? So that's why I'm saying it's kind of weird they don't have a more of a modern game with this. But I think this is actually interesting. This is like a mini console, but it's got a nice little twist to it. So who knows how much these will be discounted in the future. But yeah, 260.
well, it really just seems like them holding Alien versus Predator for ransom.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm sure you could be able to download the ROM though. Maybe, probably not.
Well, yeah, I mean, not that I would ever do something like that. That if I wanted to play it, that's how I would go about doing so.
Yep. So everything but the price, I think, is actually pretty interesting. Although some of these games, I'm not really sure. I don't know. The only thing I really want to play is Alien vs Predator, just because I never played it, like back in the day.
Pro Gear is also a shoot 'em up. It is a steampunk shoot 'em up. I was way off.
Steampunk from the '90s, huh?
Yeah, well, you know, they kind of like the Metal Slug
Proto
drifts that way somewhat. So I think it's kind of going with the World War II stuff as well.
Yep. All right. Well, pretty interesting, and I think it'll be available sometime in the future, but I don't have the exact date. I'm not gonna open up the page again. So
wait till that gets cheap.
Yeah, that might be a collector's item. Who knows? In 20 years, we'll be like, damn, you got a Capcom stick on your wall.
Could I have one that doesn't look like a giant Capcom logo?
Yeah.
No.
Mm-hmm. All right. It's not. I mean, the Capcom logo is not as iconic as like a Nintendo logo or Sega logo or something like that. By the way, who came up with the design on this thing? Right? I don't know. All right, and then so the Genesis Mini Drive, actually the what do you call it? The Sega Mega Drive Mini. It was a Mega, and now it's a Mini Mega Drive. They're slowly.
Why couldn't they just put them together in one thing? Come on, guys.
Exactly. So they're kind of releasing, they're drip feeding these game releases, telling us what's going to be unavailable. And we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago, but they announced next 10 available. It's going to be 40 altogether. And the more and more I see this list, I kind of want this thing simply because, you know, we've all played Zelda. We've all played Mario a billion times. We've all played, freaking balloon fight a billion times, but not I don't think a lot of people have played these games since the original Genesis, if ever. So let's go through this really quick. Mickey Mouse's Castle of Illusion. This was a huge side scroller game. Big deal back in the day when it came out. This is it was a good game. It was a good game. All right, and then the World of Illusion, Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. I don't remember that one very much, but if it's like Castle of Illusion, it's probably pretty
Yeah,
good.
I wasn't super familiar with them, but I played a little bit of the remakes because they were PlayStation Plus years ago.
I think Castle of Illusion was the first standstill animation where if your character was like in the same place, you would do like an animation. I think that is true. I might be wrong about that, but all right. And then Thunder Force 3. I remember my friend imported it. I had an older friend who was in the video game, and he imported this, I believe. And this was another big side-scrolling kind of shoot 'em up early on in the Genesis life cycle. So that's a kind of a classic. And then I don't know, I can't even read this. The cover of this game is like super bad. So it's like got a green pumpkin and a thing with wings shooting at it. So I can't even read that. But that I've never heard of that game. Shinobi 3, we were talking about that. That's a classic Genesis game. Streets of Rage 2, another classic. And then here we go, Earthworm Jim. I would also say this is a classic, but I'm kind of surprised that Shiny or whoever owns the IP for this now isn't like, releasing this themselves. So I think that's a pretty good get. And I think that was the best version of Earthworm Jim back in the day as well, the Genesis one. I had that one. Never beat it. Hard as hell.
No, yeah. Well, you got to the freaking puppy bouncing part, and it's just, this game's hard enough.
The one where you had to pilot that ship underwater, and if you broke the glass, you'd be dead. I remember that. I remember playing that all the time.
Yeah.
And then there's like a hamster level, the next level, and I remember never being able to get beyond that. So hard ass game.
Yeah. I don't know what was up with games back then, putting like the weird, like super hard, different gameplay mechanics levels so early on. It's like put that stuff near the end when people are getting bored.
Yep.
You put it level 2 and no one ever sees level 3.
Yep. Or just cut it out. How about that? Or we'll just do that. All right, and then Sonic Hedgehog 2, another classic. I mean, we gotta see Sonic 3, right? And then even Sonic and Knuckles. Is that gonna be? Can they have 4 Sonic games in this collection? I don't know. Who knows? All right, and then Contra Hardcore. Frank, you're a fan of this game, right? Am I correct on that?
I've never played it, but
Okay.
I hear it's the supposedly it's the super underrated Contra game.
Yep. And then Landstalker, this is a game I've heard of a bunch, but I don't actually know. This is like a Zelda adventure RPG type thing, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I didn't play it.
All right. So again,
I'm gonna stock some of that land though.
Yeah, the first 10 was not that interesting, I don't think, except for maybe Comic Zone and Gunstar Heroes, but I think this list is actually rounding out pretty nicely. Again, I'm probably not going to buy it because I mean, it'd be fun to play Mickey's Castle of Illusion, but I mean, I'm not going to play through the whole thing. So, but yeah, I think it's definitely pretty interesting collection there. So.
Yeah, well, how many more do they have to announce then?
So I guess that's that's 20.
That's half of them. Okay.
Yeah, so it's 20.
20 more. So I don't know. That seems cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess another Sonic. Let's see Madden. I want to see Madden come out for this thing. That'd be fun. Okay. All right. Okay, that's all the news I had for this week. Frank, did you have anything for us this week?
No.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. We can move right along, and we'll be right back with the games we've been playing. All right. So I'm pretty much set. If you
Sure.
are. All right, we are back, and we're going to be talking about the games we've been playing. I'll be talking about Labo VR, but let's save that towards the end. And Frank, what do you got? What do you got for us this week?
So after beating New Game Plus and Sekiro, and then also save scumming via cloud save so that I could get two endings. Finish that off for now. I'm done with that game until the DLC. I think I'm
Mm.
not gonna continue plowing away until the platinum because it's gonna take some grinding to get all of the skills anyway. But managed to beat the final boss on New Game Plus. Was a little concerned it was going to be hard, and it was, but it was roughly the same amount of difficult as doing it the first time around. So finally got that out of the PlayStation after like a month straight. Get the disc out of there.
Mm.
So on a whim the other night, I kind of decided to download Dreams, Media Molecules' new game about making
So
games.
this is actually out. This is actually available
It's
now.
an early access
Okay.
thing. So they had the beta before, and so now it is in early access. So it's not released. It's not done. Supposedly, there's going to be a single player campaign. Like, so even if you didn't have it hooked up to the internet, there would still be like Little Big Planet, there would be some kind of baked in story campaign, which is not there right now. Like, so right now it is basically just the tools and then user made content.
All right, and you got this on
Um,
Steam then, or?
no, I think it's PlayStation only.
Oh, okay. PlayStation has early access. I had no idea.
Yeah. Well, for something like this, I think they'll make an exception. Um, but yeah, and it was $30. I think it's actually cheaper. I don't know what it's going to be um, when it actually releases, but I think it goes up a little bit. But yeah, so I've been messing around with that, trying to get the kids interested. They struggle with it a little bit because it's funny though. There's a lot of I haven't noticed they had like parental controls in there yet, but there's a lot of mature content in the user made stuff. It's kind of amusing how like the general aesthetic of Dreams is cutesy wootsy. Um, like your cursor, essentially the mouse cursor that you control in the game to do stuff is called an imp, and it's like a little customizable little furball creature with a pointy head that you move around. Um, and But yeah, so it's funny that like everything about the game's tools is cutesy wootsy, and then all the people like immediately pick it up and are like, "Here's a realistic game about looking at a gun," or horror stuff and gore and violence. But yeah, I haven't really messed around with the tools much yet because there's like a bunch of it takes you through it a lot like a game in that there's a long string of tutorials to like just teach you the basics of controls, and then so it actually won't let you dive in and like just start messing around with it until you've done the tutorials because there's kind of like a quest system that things are locked behind. So I mean, supposedly this is an incredibly robust, simplified game engine, uh, but it's definitely like has the trappings of just being a game itself. Like supposedly you'll get quests and stuff encouraging you to try your hand at the different aspects of it because you can compose audio. I don't know how, like, I haven't really investigated how you upload recordings because a lot of these things have had voice acting. So clearly you can record audio with the microphone or something and upload to it. Um, but yeah, so there's like you can compose audio, you can just kind of sculpt objects or make levels. So you can make the components of games. You can make characters or animations, and that's what a lot of them are. Like if you go through the user content, like there's plenty of the stuff is just like a drawing or a 3D non-interactive scene or a non-interactive movie or just like an interesting room that you can walk around in. And then on top of that, there is the stuff that's actually like games. Some of the cooler things I played, there was some like simple racing games. Um, there's a really fun Media Molecule created game. So, like kind of the seed thing. So, like, here's stuff that could be done in the game, but it was made by the developers. So it's far, far and away beyond the user stuff at the moment. But it was a two-player game called Hammer Panic. And it's a competitive thing where there's different rounds that you try to outscore the other person, and you both control little hammer guys. You run around and you can jump and you can press the trigger to hammer down. And so, like, the first one is you have to smash up objects and hammer nails in to get points and outscore the other guy. And then it's like a soccer thing where you have to knock balloons into the other guy's goal via hammering. Or and then the other one is opening up pits. It's like you're running around on a puzzle board, and as you hammer, it smashes the floor in front of you, and you try to get the other guy to fall in. Um, my kid thought it was hilarious. She loved it, even though she can only just like get up in the corner and couldn't figure out how to come back down.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, so that's just to give you an idea of the stuff that people are gonna be able to do.
So is this kind of like
Uh,
Super Mario Maker, but just everything instead of
well,
making Mario
it's
levels?
Little Big Planet people. It's the same
Yeah.
developers, so it's basically like Little Big Planet on steroids. Because you could make a racing game in Little Big Planet. And there's like the guy who made a mechanical computer in Little Big Planet. But this is increasing in scope by quite a bit because there's someone remade PT in
Yeah.
Dreams already, and it's fully functional except for it doesn't actually include characters. There's no ghosts in it. It's just the environments and environmental effects. Um,
I'm guessing
but
it doesn't look as good as PT either.
no, it definitely looks simpler. And the everything that's made in Dreams, like people are able to make more realistic stuff, but like the way the engine works, everything like by default has kind of a painterly look. Like things look like brush strokes and kind of clouds. You can like clouds are super duper easy to make in this engine, fluffy clouds. Um,
Cloud Engine.
so like when I'm playing the PT thing, when you actually like zoom in on the wall, like it looks, like a like a you know PS3 version of PT, and it's still like they haven't finished things, so like there's stuff that's clearly kind of underbaked. But when you zoom in close, like you notice the textures on the walls still have that kind of painterly look. So, you know, I've seen people who are already like kind of like, hey guys, let's stay away from stuff like this because you can't get it outside of the game, so you don't like own it. Like you can't. It's not. This isn't Unity or Unreal where you make a game, and though supposedly someone is like there is some developer that made a deal and is like developing an actual game that will be released in but they're using Dreams as the development software. But I guess that's a deal they worked out specifically with Media Molecule. So yeah, so this isn't for normal people. This is like a hobbyist thing, and I don't think you can make money off of it or that kind of thing. But yeah, so people are like kind of like watch out for creative capture, but it's also like this isn't that like this is it's pretty incredible the things that people have already done. I played a a Talos principle puzzle game. Uh, kind of it was very heavily inspired by Talos Principle, and it was only like four puzzles or whatever. But as a thing that someone made just in the beta of this game, it was very impressive. But it's never going to be as great as something that a real team would be doing with real tools.
Are
This
you?
is just like 90% of the way there. So
Are,
I kind of feel like that mitigates
yeah.
the idea that you know you're working inside of this game to make your hobby game
And then
stuff.
are you using a controller to interface with this stuff, or can you use a mouse and keyboard? I mean,
I don't believe there's mouse and keyboard. There's it works with the wands, the PS Move
okay.
wands. But if you're just using a regular controller, it uses the uh, for the tools. And I mean, I guess some games can use it, but it uses the accelerometers inside of the controller. With the one big issue being, so you actually literally like just move your controller around, and that controls the imp. And then so you can grab stuff and pull it, and it works surprisingly well. You just have to constantly be resetting the imp to the set. Like you hold down the options button to reset the imp to the center of the screen. So like you just periodically have to do that of like hold the controller what feels like a natural neutral position right now, and then hold down options to set that as the center, and then you'll be messing around, and then like a while later, because when it goes to the edge of the screen, it stops, and you can actually do that to like nudge it back to the way you want it. But for the most part, you just kind of yeah, it's a game. It's not a game engine, but it is a game that is almost like a game engine. It's pretty cool. Um, and I'm excited to kind of see what people are gonna make, and um, they're really hammering home also that it's this stuff is easy enough that um, that you don't have to be a musician or an artist to take advantage of the audio and like sculpting tools. So, but I'll let you guys know on that after I mess around with.
Yeah, is this something you feel like you're actually gonna make your own thing, or you're just gonna use other people's?
I will. We'll see the way they try to kind of lure you in is by you don't have to make like so, and it's all community kind of driven. So unless you have like unless you set your account to private, um, or specifically like lock stuff away, the things you make are generally supposed to be available to the community. So if you make, here's a cool, giraffe I made, you can make that available to other users to add animation to, or to use as a prop, or to even add animations to, and then use as a character in a game. So supposedly it's going to grow into a database of assets that are kind of like shared throughout the community, because you automatically get credit. Like you're like, I'm going to use this guy's thing, so when I make a thing with it, like it chains below, and like people will automatically be credited, and it's got like a social networking kind of thing going on where you can cooperate with other people to make a game. So you and like a few other players could get together and like, all right, let's all make this part, that part, and we'll be like kind of an ad hoc game studio, and we'll all make different components that we can use together in a collaborative project.
Might as well just make it. It's Unreal or Unity, right? I mean, what if you're gonna be doing that?
Yeah, well, I mean, the idea here is that you know people like us who don't actually know how to
Yeah,
program video games can do these things, because you can even like the stuff about adding like AI logic is within the layman's grasp
yeah.
in this thing. So I'm sure that at higher levels you're going to run into lots of limitations. But yeah, it's Little Big Planet on hyper steroids, and I really really hope that the community moves away from 3D puzzle platformers very quickly, because I'm seeing a lot of those, and none of them have very good controls. And I don't like everybody. You guys get too Fallout. Like anytime I play a random game in Dreams so far, and it turns out to be a 3D platformer, I will give you two free, like, whoa, I don't feel like I should have fallen off of that platform. Like, because the I don't know how much control you have over the controls of the games you make, but like they're generally, these platformers have been very floaty, and I always walk off. Like I don't stop. Still got momentum when I land on the platform, and then I just kind of walk off the edge. You get two of those. The third time it happens, I'm just done, because there's nothing stopping me from pressing B and backing, or pressing circle and backing out,
Mm.
and going to see what the next weird thing is. And there is some weird stuff. There was a like an off-roading Jeep game. So it's just kind of like you're in a Jeep and you're in kind of an off-road racetrack. And then but it just got weirder of like I fell through a waterfall, and then like in the end there was a giant crucifix like with a dramatic scene in the distance, and like I drove towards it and the camera swoops back, and then like you see that there's just like a field of dead Jeeps like just piled all over the place in front of the crucifix, and then the game ends and I'm like, what the hell was
Yeah.
that?
Now, is
It
there
was
is there like a
neat.
bunch of junk on there, or is it actually like high quality? Because this
Well,
reminds me a
it's.
little
I
bit like
mean, there definitely is, but there is user curation in that you thumbs up stuff, um, and then also because I was wondering about this, I was like, well, what's going to stop this thing from just filling up with porn
uh,
immediately? Like crudely animated, crudely modeled porn everywhere. But I guess they are employing like actual human moderators. So that's just going to be a thing to go along. So as
they
long as they keep the servers up and have enough money to keep paying people, there will supposedly be actual human beings making sure that you're not slipping porn under their noses.
yeah. Well, they're probably outsourcing to the same company that does Facebook moderation, right? People having sex in the
Those poor
stairways.
Romanians listening to all our nonsense. Um, but yeah, it seems very cool. I've noticed. I've been saying supposedly a lot of here, but that's early access for you. You know, who
Yep.
knows exactly what the future holds. But it's charming, and I think that there's some value here purely as like a player. Like I think you could probably get your money's worth eventually, uh, without actually making stuff of your own. But
Make No
we'll see.
Man's Sky.
There's kind of an interesting the social aspect of it, so you can actually like click on the profile of the maker of the game you just played, and like everyone gets like a weird kind of rating system based on what you're doing. So you like, do you make a lot of audio? Do you make a lot of art? Do you just play things? Do you curate things? Like there's all these kind of bars of your activities, and you can look people up and be like, all right, what overall, and then recently, like, so what overall do you do, and what's your recent passion? What's your current passion? Yeah, it's weird.
That's interesting. They should, well, Frank, make some polygons of us and like upload the show every single week, and you're
We'll
gonna
do
be the first
personal
podcast.
games.
Yeah, dreams. I'm tre-
Interactive Dreams podcast.
I
We're not gonna look great.
We'll look better. We'll probably look better,
but
probably with the painter
but
leaf.
since you can modify and remix other people's dreams that are available too. Uh, so I'll just have to find some other scruffy balding guys characters and then
Uh,
modify them to be us.
yeah,
Because yeah, so like they comes with a default, like those articulated posing mannequins for
yeah.
like people drawing. Like that's kind of like a default character that you can start with because it's got the rigging for for animations and stuff. So
And then did
like
you do like keyframes for the animation and stuff like that? Is it that
I
granular
don't know.
or
I haven't gotten that far yet.
okay?
But apparently, supposedly, it's a lot easier to like take something like that and start modifying it rather than trying to like make a character and then rig its model and animation from scratch. So I think that's another reason why it's supposed to be a little easier is that you're allowed to build on other people's stuff. So I don't know. I think as far as what I'm most interested in making myself, I like just kind of like weird liminal spaces. So I think I'm just gonna mess around and make a bunch of abstract kind of brutalist structures.
All right, very cool. Make No Man's Sky in that. How about that? Very meta. Very
Well,
meta.
there was a spaceship game that was very much a like super simplified version of Everspace
Okay.
already that I've seen.
Nice. So how long? So doesn't seem like it's been out that long, and then we already got tons of stuff already, or is this?
Well, that's because it's been available in it for a while as a
Okay.
beta.
And
You had to sign up for.
and you said you paid $30 for this right now?
Yeah,
Okay. All right. Cool. All right.
and then
Well,
I don't know what the actual price is going to be at the end, but I was like, yeah, it seems like by the time it actually releases for real, there'll probably be a decent bank of content going on.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
even
probably
like
smart.
there's cool stuff on there right now, but basically even the coolest stuff is like not finished. There's all like everything's kind of in progress.
Yeah.
So
All right. Cool. Very interesting. It seems like a kind of like an adult Mario Maker, but you can do like anything as opposed to just make side-scrolling
yeah,
levels. So.
someone made a bad Portal knockoff.
Oh yeah.
You can't see through the portals, but it's like you can make a blue circle and you can make an orange circle, and if you walk into the blue circle, you appear at where the orange circle is.
Well, that's crazy. That's got to be some pro. I mean, it sounds simple, but that's got to be some programming
Yeah, I know
crazy
that
stuff.
probably like for the what the like logic, the gameplay logic kind of creator tool. Somebody probably had like 5 billion nodes connecting to each
Yeah,
other for that one.
it's crazy. That's crazy. All right. Well, speaking of nodes and making your own stuff, let's talk about Labo VR, which also has kind of like a programming your own kind of thing. So I got this on Friday, the day that it actually was released, and I got it on Amazon and they shipped it, and I got it the same day that it was actually out, so on Friday. And I guess I'm one of the lucky ones because from what I'm hearing on the internet, everyone was looking for this thing, and
Hmm.
hardly anyone actually saw it at the stores. And if they saw it, it was already sold out. And I don't know if that's Nintendo limiting supply or maybe just these retailers not taking a plunge on Labo again because it seems like the first one didn't really sell all that great, especially when they're selling it for like half price. But indeed, I get it, and this is where the visual part of the show comes in here. Frank, I'm going to show off my my Labo here.
Ooh.
So,
So you put the cardboard together. You didn't have to get TaskRabbit to do it for you.
so I did do the cardboard. Here is the headset here. All right, I'm going to do it kind of in the middle here. And then so you can see that. So you put your switch in right here. It's got these nice little felt things. They're not felt, but they're like some material here to slide in there.
Oh, is
And
it like the foam stuff to like
yeah,
protect it?
yeah, so you don't scratch your switch. And then the goggles are just kind of these stereoscopic goggles that kind of have the lines in them or whatever. I'm not sure how it works. But yeah, it's got the plastic part, and then this part, basically, when you put your switch in, but you don't have any of the other things, and you put it on top, and then so you can't like slide, so the switch can't slide out, so it's kind of like a protector. So pretty interesting. So they've pretty much thought of everything. And then the top here, I don't have my switch actually in it, but then they got a vent for the air cooling thing and the headphones, and then I think this is the power button over here. I'm not quite positive. But I got that, and then I got the blaster as well, which I'll show you right here. So here's the blaster. This is upside down. So it's fairly big. Here, let me see if I can get a better
It's
picture.
like a weird cardboard Nerf gun.
Yeah, exactly. What's really interesting here is that you can cock it, right? You cock it like that, and then you pull the trigger, and then there's actually like a hammer that goes down. If you can hear that. And so it's like a working gun, and I'm like just thinking to myself, man, are they teaching kids how to build guns here or something like that? Because it's a lot of the same principle, although the trigger is like up here. It's not like down, by your finger. You basically do it
Wow.
with your thumb. So it's
They're teaching kids how to make zip guns. Like,
yeah,
hey, combine what you've learned from Nintendo with your 3D printer to make a single shot assassin weapon.
yeah, exactly. Or use a 3D printer, make a gun here. But then yeah, you put your Joy-Con right here, and then I guess the IR reads the reflective tape that's back here to know when you're actually shooting in the game. And then you kind of got this slidey thing for your controller, and then this kind of thing. Uh, if you guys are listening to the podcast, this makes a whole bunch of sense, I'm sure. But yeah, so then you put your switch in the goggles, and then you can like connect it here. Yeah, let me see if I can do this. Again, I don't have my switch in. Do I have this upside down? No. Why is this? Oh my god, why am I not? Why is this not going?
Tune in next time for Chris
Yeah.
breaks his cardboard Labo stuff.
I gotta buy a new one here. All right, there you go. All right, so it goes in there, and then you put the top on here, and then you put this thing, and then yeah, you basically like do it like this thing.
It's a face gun.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, basically, it's like you're an elephant with like gun as your trunk or something like that. But
Wow.
so all right, so I have some notes, and I will
Set the camera up. I want to see footage of you playing this game.
I should actually. All right, so it took me about an hour. I'm just gonna go through my notes really quick. So it took me about an hour to actually make the goggles themselves, and I'll tell you what, folding the stuff and like putting the stuff together feels very satisfying, almost like working on a car, like changing a tire or changing like a spark plug, and getting your hands dirty. Obviously, you're not getting grease and oil on your hands, but just something working with your hands, something tactical like that, just feels really good, and it's actually it's enjoyable to actually put this thing together. I think the directions are a little bit too slow. I mean, they do everything, basically step by step, but for some reason, you swipe to like increase the speed to move on to the next step, and it takes forever. So that was kind of annoying. But then the blaster, it took me like 2 hours. So I put together while I was watching a baseball game. So that's what I would do, is just like watch TV or something like that, and while you put together to kill some time.
Listen to a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so then so I played it, and the way it works is that it basically has the on the screen, it takes the image and it basically gives you two round images. So basically, it's stereoscopic, and the rest is kind of black. And then when you actually put it to your face, that's the 3D part of it. And yeah, you can definitely see the pixels, and it's definitely got the screen door effect. But kind of after a while, you kind of don't care. And, this thing costs $40, right? So, I mean, you're not paying $800 to get this stuff. So you definitely feel like it's okay. It's fine. Your arm does get tired fairly quick, and maybe that's just because I'm not used to using it. Maybe if you get used to using it more often, it gets less so. But the nice thing about this is that you can just pull it away from your face if you're tired or anything like that. So it's not that bad, really. And oh no, yeah. Also, if you're sitting in a chair, you can put your arms on the armrest and like hold it up like this to your face. So that's actually not that bad of a problem. Yeah, I did get slightly nauseous at times, but that's kind of like what happens when you kind of like move your body and then move the VR, and just things don't kind of line up correctly in the real world. But it wasn't that bad at all. And it's real VR. I mean, I don't know if you ever had like the Google Cardboard with the phone thing. I've done that before, and it works. I mean, you definitely are in the space. You can look around all over. It's like 3D, all that stuff. The resolution is not great. I would say it's a lot like the 3DS resolution. How the 3DS resolution is really really bad. This is definitely not Oculus Rift at all. Resolution. So the games are fairly simple. The graphics are, at least what's in the game here, very much like Wii Sports. Very simple. The textures are not too crazy. Not a lot of polygons. So you definitely it's very a entry level experience. Yeah, like I said before, resolution looks like old school Xbox PS2 era. Definitely not HD at all. Blah blah blah. Oh yeah, and then it was weird. I didn't get like a headache during it, but then afterwards, like when I was in bed, like just reading my phone, I kind of got a headache just because I was looking at another screen that was not 3D. So I don't know what was up with that. Blah blah. Maybe it's because I was trying to read text. I don't know. So a lot of the mini games are in there. Again, they're just kind of these mini games, like take your Switch controller and then it becomes like a tennis racket, and then you hit a ball and you try to hit a goal and all that stuff. None of those mini games are really that interesting to me. So I don't really dig too much, and it seems like it's kind of difficult to like get in. That's not difficult. It's just that when you're in the game, it's fine, but then when you're kind of in the menus, that's kind of when I was getting a little bit nauseous, just because the menus don't really move in 3D. So you have this thing to your face, and you kind of want to move, but then nothing really kind of moves that way. So
I'm trying to look away from the menu.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, the mini games aren't that interesting to me. Blah blah blah. So they have 3D videos in there. So they actually have this video where it's like a bunch of seals underwater, and you actually have like a seal coming at you, and I would actually flinch every single time. So that's how effective it is. But the videos, I don't think the video is in 60 frames per second. I think it's 30 frames, so you can only watch it for like so long. And of course, the Easter egg on that is that you can actually watch someone turn on a Virtual Boy, and you actually get into the Virtual Boy glasses portion, and it looks 3D, just like the old Virtual Boy. It's just the intro to Mario Tennis. But I really hope that they release Virtual Boy games for this, all 5 of them. So I think that'd be cool. Um, yeah, and I think I actually got the wrong one. The blaster is cool to put together, and it's cool to have, and all that stuff. But the on-rail shooters, where you're like shooting these aliens and all this stuff, I'm not really big a fan of online. I'm not online, but on-rail shooters. So to me, that's not the most interesting thing, unless it was like a time cop game or something like that, but I don't think that's coming out anytime soon. So you're basically just going down the city, shooting these aliens and all this stuff, and you're just going ka-ching, psh, ka-ching, psh. And yeah, I mean it's cool, it's 3D and all that stuff, but I don't know, I cannot see myself playing it. And actually, I have not played it since Saturday, honestly. So I'm kind of waiting for the Zelda and the Mario update later next week before I really dig into it too much. But I mean, it works. It's VR. It's 3D. I would love to see other games take advantage of it, like Thumper or something like that. I mean, I think other games could really take advantage of it. And I mean, again, if you want a cheap VR set and you already have a Switch, don't buy this just for the VR. But I mean, for $40, add VR to your Switch. I mean, that's kind of it's not bad. And again, I don't think the blaster is the best one. Actually, the one with the bird and the one with the camera, actually, I think would be more interesting to me, because the bird, you're actually like flying in this open world, and then there's things where you have to like pick up eggs and bring them to other birds and all that stuff. And apparently, that is actually pretty engrossing. And the camera one, where you're actually underwater and like taking photographs of like fish and all that stuff, that to me seems more interesting, more pleasing than just doing these on rail shooters type games. So all in all, I mean, I think it's a really fascinating product, a really interesting product, and I really hope more games kind of take advantage of it. The Garage VR, the Labo Garage, where you can kind of make your own games with the nodes and all this stuff. Interesting, but I don't think they I don't think they teach you how to do it very well, because they kind of introduce you to it with these kind of like these text and these characters, like saying, "Oh yeah, I'm Professor whatever, blah blah blah, of the Labo VR group," and blah blah blah. But then when you're actually into the programming part of it, it just kind of says, "Oh, you're on your own." You know what I mean? So I was kind of wanted to maybe do a little bit of something, but I got very confused and I didn't really know what I was doing. So I'm sure there's like an online source that actually kind of goes through all that stuff. But for a kid, for like a 7-year-old kid who wants to program his own VR games, I mean, there's really nothing else like it. And all the VR mini games in this thing, they're all made with the same Garage VR thing. So it gives you a bunch of ideas, and I'm not sure, but I think you can probably copy it, and then copy all the stuff, and then like add to it and all that stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, otherwise, I mean, I think if you have a Switch, I think it's kind of a no-brainer, because it's just a really fascinating thing, and you probably have Zelda already. That's gonna be in 3D, and I'm sure a bunch of other Nintendo games are gonna be coming in 3D eventually. So, yeah, it's just a really fascinating product, and I really enjoyed putting it together. And I would just say, even though the games and the actual things that you're doing with this thing are not that, mind bending or anything like that, but just the fact that you made this thing out of cardboard, and the everything just goes together so well, and it's so well constructed. I mean, it's just, there's nothing else like it, like on the planet. No one else is doing stuff like that, and it's just so well thought out and so well done, so well executed, that, I mean, I would say this might be my game of the year if the games were actually like fun to play or anything like that. If there's actually something good on here, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, your attitude towards building stuff with the cardboard has really changed since doing this. So.
Yeah, I was a little bit hesitant, and I don't know if I want to do it again, but I found myself actually really enjoying it. Again, it was like working on a car, and you're actually kind of putting it together, and there's a satisfaction of like kind of building it and just kind of getting it all together. And yeah, I mean, again, the blaster is like super cool. If they made Doom, if they could somewhere figure out how to put this on Doom, I don't know how you would move. I mean, I guess you would.
Well, there was already a Doom VR game, so.
Yeah, exactly. So if they could switch it, and then I don't know, because again, you have to cock it and then fire it. So it's not like there's like a auto fire, and I don't know if you pull the trigger down if it's gonna recognize that you're shooting like a whole bunch in a row. I don't know like that, but I really think other game companies should try to take advantage of it because it seems like this is gonna sell way better than original Labo stuff. So I think this is actually gonna be a pretty big hit. Actually, I would not be surprised if this is the number one selling game for April, for sure. So
Mhm.
we'll see about that. But yeah, I'm pretty enthusiastic about it now that I'm talking about it. Again, I haven't played it since Saturday, but it's a really cool product. It's really really cool stuff. So all right, there we go. Labo
I can
VR.
roll.
Okay. All right, cool. All right, so we'll end it there. And thanks for listening and thanks for watching. Again, if you do want to see the video portion of it, just go to YouTube and look up Chris Frank Games, and you should be able to find it pretty quick. So, all right, that's it, Frank. Frank, you got big plans for the kids for Easter? It's always a fun holiday with kids.
Just going to see just going to grandma's house.
You guys hide the eggs and all that stuff and give them Easter baskets and all that stuff.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right, big production over at the Black
I'm not
household.
usually the one in charge of that.
Okay.
So I just wander around and take pictures.
That's what dads are for, right? Just
Yeah.
storing the memories and drinking beers.
The family documentarian.
Yeah, and then when the kids start crying, you gotta be like, "Hey, stop!" Do all that crap. So, all right, cool. All right, so yeah, everyone enjoy their Easter and all the other stuff. So thanks for watching and listening. And so for Frank White, let me see if I get this music going. Frank White, my name is Chris Stotts. It's been Chris Frank Games. Thanks for listening. See you guys next
Play
week.
us out, boys. Are they playing us out?
Yeah, I did.
Sweet.
All right. All right.